Hey everybody, Zero here. Today I'm going to be going over whether or not it is worth getting a Steam Deck in 2026. Um, and that's going to be kind of like, it's going to depend on a lot of things. Not just like the person and what your preferences are and what your price range is, but also obviously right now with the RAM shortage, if you try to buy a Steam Deck new, they've gone up in price. Even if you try to buy one used, they're out of stock online. So if you try to buy one off eBay or Facebook Marketplace, they're still going to be more expensive than they originally were, like back when before all the price hikes and stuff. You used to be able to get like a used one for like 250 if it was like the 64 gigabyte model. But like the higher end models were like in the $300 to $400 range. And then they released the Steam Deck OLED, which was even more expensive. Um, so mine's not an OLED. Mine's just the original Steam Deck, but it's not a 64. It's a 256. They actually go up to 512, but I have a really large micro SD card in there, so I'm pretty good. Um, so yeah, ignore all the fur and like hair that you see like in the case. We have three cats, so I keep my Steam Deck on my bed, and the cats get near it. So, but luckily I have a screen protector on there, so like at least the screen doesn't get like scratched or messed up or anything. So yeah, I'm basically just gonna go over like my own personal experience, which probably is gonna be a lot different than like the people that are watching this video, but whatever. I'm just gonna give like my take on it. So a lot of people have been using Steam for years, if not like decades. People who own desktop PCs, um, have like a home computer and then they got Steam back in the day, and ever since they've just been like taking advantage of Steam sales and building up a library. That was not me. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and that's when I like had a PC, but by the time I was like graduating from high school in like 2000, 2002, I stopped using or having a desktop PC. I had some like laptops for college for like a couple years, but like that was it. Um, so I never really got into Steam. And I also didn't like the fact that the games were digital only. I mean, you could go to the store and you could buy a box back then that would have like a PC game in it. But it was really just either like a CD disc or it was like a code. So like I didn't like that, and then like a lot of the games that were, because it's just different now than it was back then. Like now you can get pretty much like any game on PC. Back then it was mostly like specific types of games, and it was a lot of like MMORPGs, um, and just a lot of like World of Warcraft and like StarCraft and League of Legends and all this kind of stuff. So I wasn't really into that. So I was getting my stuff on like home consoles, like with Nintendo and Sony. Um, so like I knew what Steam was. I had obviously like heard of it. Some of my friends had it. I just didn't personally use it. So when the Steam Deck was announced and when it came out, um, I was like, like should I get this? Unlike probably 90% of people out there that got a Steam Deck, I did not already have a Steam library. Most people have a huge Steam library, and when they buy a Steam Deck, they're like, cool, now I can play all my PC games like on the go, or I can play them more comfortably like in bed or whatever. That's not why I got a Steam Deck. I actually got a Steam Deck to get into the PC gaming space, because I heard that it was a fairly competent machine. Like it's obviously not like state of the art tech, because then it would have had to been like $2,000. Um, but like they say it plays most games decently, and you can even play AAA games on it, which is pretty true. But the AAA games will take up a lot of storage, and that sucks. So like I try not to get a lot of those. Um, So yeah, so like I bought a Steam Deck and I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm looking for like an out of the box experience. I used to be really tech savvy, but like now I don't know anything about PCs. So like like I just want to like buy some games off of Steam and have them work. And for the most part, that's how it works. So I always wait for the Steam sales, which they do luckily at least 4 times a year because they do seasonal ones. So there's one for summer, um, fall, winter, and spring. And those are like really, really deep discounts. Like we're talking games are 90% off. Some of them are like 98 cents. It's like crazy. So I always make like a big list, which luckily you can create a wish list on your Steam account. And then I always just check number one, I check my wish list when the sales go live to see if any of the games I wanted are on sale. But then I also go to like the Steam store. So like I'll go to the store homepage, and when the sales are going on, there'll be like a big banner, and it'll be like, oh, these are like the cheapest games, and these are like the games played the most on Steam Deck, and these are like the top bestsellers overall. So like I'll kind of look through those to see if there's any that aren't already on my wish list that I might want to grab. Um, but like it's super easy to like navigate the store. You can do it by genre. You can do it by like it'll recommend you stuff based on like other games that are already currently in your library. You can obviously do like a word search. It's super awesome. It's super easy. Everything loads fast. You can see like how much storage a game is going to take up if you purchase it. Tells you the price, tells you the sale price, all that good stuff. Um, it also tells you Steam Deck compatibility, which even if a game says it's not supported, I would always Google it because a lot of times they say it's unsupported because they like don't know for sure. But like a lot of times the game works fine anyway. Like I have a bunch of games if I go to my library. Oops, library. So like when you scroll over a game, if it's got like a green check mark, it means it's Steam Deck verified. But like you can see Alice Madness Returns has a yellow eye, which means that it's like semi-verified, like it works, but there's like tweaks you might have to do. But then some games like Assassin's Creed Syndicate have a like a no circle sign. Um, and that means that it's unsupported. But like I've Googled it and like that game worked, so like I bought it and sure enough it works. Um, so like I said, you just gotta like check online. I also always Google the file sizes of games before I buy them because my memory card like I don't want it to get full. And some of like the more modern like AAA games um, are like 90 gigabytes. And it's like if you got a couple games that size, you would fill up your micro SD card storage so quickly. So a lot of the stuff I have is like Coffee Talk. That's the two Coffee Talk games and I have Tokyo, but Tokyo's on my PS5. Um, Coffee Talk is like an indie game. It's like so small. It's probably like less than a gigabyte. Same thing with like the Disney Capcom games. It's like super anything that's like indie or retro is probably going to be like really small storage. Devil May Cry 5 is probably higher. Maybe Darksiders 3 is higher. Some of like the bigger games like that, which I don't mind having a couple of them. The Life is Strange series, which I have all of them here except for the newest one, which is Reunion, which I do own. I just have it physically for PS5. Um, these are like medium sized games, so those are ones I wanted to have, but they don't take up too much storage. Um, Poppy Playtime is like an interesting one because the company treats each chapter as its own separate game, but yet when you buy them, it still puts them all in this one like icon. So it's very confusing because like yeah, you're basically just buying like the individual chapters, which are like parts. But then it's weird that it like in when you're in the store, it treats them as if they were separate games. So that's a weird example, but um Remember Me, that's a game I used to see all the time, the case on the shelf when I was like working at GameStop. Never knew what it was. Found out recently it's actually made by Don't Nod, which is the developer that created Life is Strange. It's not like a similar style game, which is weird because most of their games are similar. Like they have another game right here, Tell Me Why. They're like kind of like choose your own adventure type games. Um, Remember Me is not like that, but it's made by them, so I got that because it was on sale for like a couple bucks. I do have the entire Tomb Raider reboot trilogy, so I have Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Those were surprisingly not super large, and they were on sale for like $3 or $4. Um, Scarlet Nexus, that's actually a fairly recent game, and I was able to get that on a deep, deep discount. I have most of the Tales games on here too. I have Tales of Berseria. I have some of the older ones like Zestiria and uh, Tales of Symphonia. I think the only one I'm missing is like Vesperia. It goes on sale for $9.99 very often. I just haven't bought it because I already own it like multiple times in other platforms. And then I have like the other Tomb Raider trilogy, so like the second one, which is like Legends, Anniversary, and Underworld. Love those games. I have both of the Yooka-Laylee games. I have Undertale. Um, and like I said, most of these games, they just kind of like work on the Steam Deck, like right off the bat, which is like nice. Sometimes it'll assign the buttons to match like the buttons on the Steam Deck, so it'll do like A, B, X, and Y. Sometimes it treats it like you're using an Xbox controller, so it'll color code them with like the green, yellow, red, blue. And every once in a while, you'll get like a game that doesn't automatically like it'll map the buttons, but like um, it won't tell you like what they're mapped to unless you actually hit the Steam button while the game is running, and then you go to the controller setup and like check. Um, but like for example, Poppy Playtime, that's a fairly recent game. I mean, like yeah, the first chapter came out like 6 years ago, but the most recent chapter 5 just came out like 4 months ago. Um, and that game actually like doesn't map the buttons to match like what the Steam Deck says. So like it treats it like you're playing it on a PC with a keyboard. So like the action button for like interacting with items, it'll say like press E on the keyboard, and like you just have to know that like E on the keyboard actually corresponds with the B button. But like you can find that out, like I said, just by going into the settings and looking at like the controller mapping. um like for a moment, like when I was playing that game, it was like crouch to like get into an air duct, and it took me forever to figure out what the crouch button was, but it turns out it's like one of the buttons like on the back. There's like these like extra trigger buttons, and it's like the lower left trigger button is like crouch. um but the games run well. They look good. I haven't had trouble really with any of them. There are a couple games that I did buy last Steam Summer Sale that were just like funky. Like some of them wouldn't open at all. Like they would just crash. Other ones would open in like really weird aspect ratios, like where it would be like stretched or something. And there are ways to fix that because like the Steam Deck is literally it's running Linux, so you can even install Windows on it. So like there's always ways to fix things, but like I said, I'm not computer savvy anymore, so I didn't want to take the time to dick around with all those like settings and stuff. So anytime I got a game that would just like not work, like it wouldn't map the buttons, and like I couldn't control things properly, or like it looked weird, or it just wouldn't even boot at all. That's the awesome thing about Steam that I've like learned in recent time, is that you have, I think it's 2 hours and like 2 weeks. It's 2 hours of playing and 2 weeks since you buy the game. You have to try it out, and if you don't like it or have a problem with it or it doesn't work, whatever, you literally just go online and say, I'd like to report an issue. You pick the game, say you want to return it, and then usually within like an hour or two, Steam gets back to you with like a refund. I've never had them deny any return I've done on a game, and I've done a couple. So as long as you don't abuse it, I don't think there's even really like a limit. Um, but for the most part, most games work. Like I was playing Star Wars Force Unleashed the other day. I was playing Tell Me Why. I was playing all the Tomb Raider games. Um, I just tried out that one game I was talking about the other night. Where is it? The Remember Me over here. I was trying that out for a couple hours the other night. Because what you want to do is if you have, if like let's say there's a Steam sale going on and you have like a list of like 10, 15 games that you find are on sale or whatever, and you buy a bunch of them, you don't want to just like start one game and like play it, because if it takes you like a week or 2 weeks to beat it, and then it turns out that some of your other games like don't run properly, then it's going to be too late to ask for a refund. So I make sure I open up each game, make sure each one looks okay, runs okay, boots up, controls work, check all that stuff like after buying the games and stuff like that. And then you can even like sort your home screen. So like these are all the games I own, which is like 50 games, but some of them took up like too much storage. Or like Hogwarts Legacy is huge, so is Hitman. Those are like I think 100 like gigs each, and it's like that takes up like a huge chunk of my memory card when I'd rather have like 40 smaller games than like a handful of larger AAA games. And Hogwarts Legacy, even though I got it super cheap here, I owned it on PS5 and Switch 2. So like I don't need it on Steam Deck, so I don't need it loaded. So I got this game for like $1, I think, like Hitman, and it's like a pretty good game, but like I just don't want it on my Steam Deck right now. So like up at the top, you see like the different tabs. There's like you can put just games that are great on Steam Deck. You can do all of your games, or you can do just like games that are installed. So I usually go to the installed tab because that's like games I have on my system currently, and then I look through like what I want to play. And like boot up times can vary, like it depends on the game, but like sometimes it takes quite long, especially if it's like the first time. But like let's say I wanted to play Poppy Playtime and I hit play, it'll do this little thing where like it's a starting launch and it'll show you like what the control scheme is going to be. So like it's showing you there like, oh yeah, it's going to use gyro and it's going to use like the trackpads and like the buttons. But like you can see that game loaded pretty quickly, and then you just choose which chapter you're going to play. So let's say I'm going to play like chapter 1. So what I was saying before about the controls is like if you hit the Steam button, one of the things that comes up is like a secondary menu. So like this is the normal menu that would come up. You get a second menu here for like specifically the game that you're in. So if you were to go to controller settings, then this tells you like what every button on the Steam Deck does, and you can click controller settings and you can literally remap it to whatever you want. So I think that's awesome. But like I said, most of the games like automatically kind of just like conform to the Steam Deck because they recognize that that's like what you're playing it on. But not all of them. Like I said, it says as mouse use E key, so like you just like kind of have to figure it out. But so like you can have a game running in the background, like even if you go back to like your home menu. So like right now I'm in controller settings, but like I don't have to do that. I can go back home and you can still hear the music of the game because it's like running in the background. It'll tell you like how many of your friends are online, how many friends are playing the same game, how much time you've clocked in like on the game, recommendations for similar games, all that good stuff. Really, really cool ecosystem. I'm glad that I'm part of it now. Steam is awesome. There's a lot of games I have on Steam that I already own on either Switch or PS5, but I got them again on Steam because they're games I like and I feel like I'll replay them, and they were like dirt cheap on like a Steam sale. And like I said, the Steam sales happen at least 4 times per year, but there's also like little sales in between those. So really, there's closer to like 8 to 10 sales a year. Some of them will be like, it's an RPG sale, or it'll be like, it's a cozy game sale. So there's like a website you can go to where it'll literally have like a countdown timer to like the next sale, and it'll tell you like what it is, like, oh, it's the summer sale and it starts on this date at this time and it runs for 2 weeks or whatever. But the Steam Deck itself, like physically, is great. I like the placement of all the buttons. It's very comfortable. It's definitely way heavier and way chunkier and bulkier than something like a Switch, which is very like flat. But I think that makes it more comfortable because you have on the back, you have like how it like sticks out. So it like perfectly fits your hands. Like if you look at it from a side view, it looks almost like a nunchuck from like the Wii, but like your hands like sit right there and it just feels so comfortable. It's got fans like on the top and on the back, and it can get pretty hot depending on the game. If you're running like an indie game, maybe not so much, but if you're trying to run like a AAA game, then it definitely will. But I've never had any like actual overheating problems. It just gets warm. And then you have like these special squares over here, which you can use as like a mouse trackpad, and they're also clickable. You have this would basically be like start, and this would be like select. You have your dual joysticks, ABXY, your little like secondary menu button, your Steam menu button, the triggers on the top, the bumpers on the top, and then those 4 back buttons on the left and right that I was talking about before for like crouching and Poppy playtime. But yeah, the build quality is good, the screen is good, and this isn't even the OLED version, and I still think the screen is good. Battery life is not great. It only gets about 2 hours. That's why it's plugged in. I always keep it plugged in. I play with it mostly from the comfort of my bed, and I usually just have it plugged in like on the side. So I just kind of like play towards the left side of my bed. But it hasn't been an issue. I don't mind keeping it plugged in, and it's still comfortable for me to hold the system. I usually just put a pillow behind my head. But that's just like a brief overview. I know that this video is like over 20 minutes long, but there's like so much more I could say about the Steam Deck. But I definitely love it. My library is only about 40 or 50 games right now, but it will continue to grow every time there's a new sale. So like my backlog just keeps getting bigger and bigger, and that's on top of all the games I'm playing on like my PS5 and my Switch 2. And that's like the funny thing too, is that like the Switch 2 is getting a lot of like late ports. So like it's getting games that came out years ago, which is fine, and like I'm glad for the people that haven't played those games. But like for example, like the Tomb Raider reboot trilogy, the first 2 games, like Tomb Raider and Rise of the Tomb Raider, have just come out on Switch 2, and they don't even look as good as the Steam Deck versions. And they're also charging like $20 a piece for them, when you can get them on a Steam sale for like $2 or $3. So, I mean, Nintendo's got to do what Nintendo's got to do. Like, obviously, to them, it's like a new game, but there's just so many games on Steam that you can get because they've been out for a while now, and you can get them for like $1 or like $5 or whatever, and it's just like they end up coming to like the original Switch or the Switch 2 like years later, and it's like, I'm glad that they got it, but I'm not going to be paying full price for that when I can just get it on Steam Deck for like way cheaper. And it's still like the argument used to be like, well, I'm not going to get it on PC or PS5, I'm going to get it on Switch even though it's like crappier graphics and lower frame rate, because portability. But like now with the Steam Deck, you still get portability, but you also get like better performance and like graphics. So that's all I want to say about that today. I don't know if I'll like revisit the Steam Deck in the future, maybe once I've had like even more time with it, or I know like Valve has come out and said that they don't want to release a new Steam Deck. Like I know they did the OLED, but that was basically just like a better screen. But they don't want to like call one the Steam Deck 2 until it's like been long enough that the parts inside are like significantly updated to the point where it's like you're getting way better performance. So in the meantime, it's just like incremental stuff. Um, and I don't even remember like what year the Steam Deck came out in. I know it's been like, I want to say like three or 4 years. But yeah, there's no plans as of right now to release like a Steam Deck 2 in the immediate future. And they literally just put out the Steam, what is it called? The Steam Box, Steam Cube, whatever the home console one is. That literally just came out like a week ago, so they're probably focused on that. But yeah, I love my Steam Deck. I'm glad I have it. There's still certain games that I have to get on like Switch 2 because they're exclusive, like obviously anything Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, and then like this month we're getting Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. It's already out digitally, but I want to get it physically. That's not on Steam, so like I have to get that for Switch 2, but that's fine. That's why I have a Switch 2. So yeah, any questions, leave a comment in this comment section below. And until next video, I will see you guys later.